He always just happy when like defenders.
I think it's like.
And we're back. Apologies, people. Allegedly, Morgan Rogers has chosen to sign for Arsenal Football Club. And again, I love it. I always say, if it's not David Ornstein, if it's not Fabrizio Romano, and if it's not Hand of Arsenal, I don't want to hear it. It encourages me. So, yeah, smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts on potentially Morgan Rogers. As I said, allegedly, he's given full priority to sign for Arsenal. If you give me a second, I'll share my screen. And you lot can see that I'm not just making this up, people. Now, Hand of Arsenal. I love the guy, man. Would love to meet you. You know, you could walk past me in the street and I don't know. He's mysterious. He's incognito. Morgan Rogers update. Morgan Rogers has given preference to joining the English champions. Other clubs are still actively in the race, but acknowledge the player's current preference, which, again, that's great because that shows me Mikel Arteta and Arsenal want Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers has given us preference. When you're hearing the Chelsea and the Man Uniteds, provided Arsenal and Aston Villa can come together away and make an agreement, we can obviously get our individual people. Now, obviously, people are going to be sniffing around. Morgan Rogers is one of those that every top Premier League club and probably those abroad are going to get involved in. Morgan Rogers has respectfully communicated his desire to leave to senior figures at Aston Villa. Significant. We all probably know nothing's going to happen until after the World Cup, although you have seen players move slightly before the World Cup. Moves have been sorted during the World Cup. You look at mainly Real Madrid, Bernardo Silva, Canate, Cucurella, etc. But for us, it feels like after. Personal terms have been explored and are not a hindrance at all. So while there's nothing official in writing, we've got a ballpark figure. And again, that tells me that's not an issue. And also, you know, it shows that Josh Kroenke, Berta, Arteta, we're not resting on our laurels. We're trying to develop. And again, we gave out plenty of new contract last season. Magalhaes, Saliba, Wanyeri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Bukayo Saka. Buffered the contracts of Trossard and Raya. There's talk around Raya, Timber, and Declan Rice getting new deals. I don't know what's going to happen with Odegaard and Havertz, but they're top earners. Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira, Gabriel Jesus are still contracted to this football club. So again, we probably will move them on, but we need to look after our resources and be a bit cute and clever. Rogers is sold on the Mikel Arteta project and the plan for him. And you know what? It's a bit like when Odegaard, remember that clip, yeah, when Odegaard gave Rice the Arsenal shirt when he was at West Ham. I still remember Morgan Rogers. He's always next to them. He's at the Emirates. When we battered us happened there. Apologies there, people. When we battered Aston Villa at the Emirates, as what I meant to say, he was very complimentary to Arsenal, people. Rogers was on the short list of attacking reinforcements Arsenal discussed last summer. I think he's going to be ahead of Eze in the pecking order, just because off the ball, I think he's more willing to do that kind of stuff than Eze. But if Odegaard, Eze, and Morgan Rogers are all at the club and they're all on form, it's scary, but not for us, people. My understanding is that Villa and Arsenal are in contact, though, through unofficial channels regarding any potential deal. So middlemen, agents, intermediaries. Remember my words, the fee is key to this deal. The player is fully on board. And this is where, if we had Edu, I'd be a bit shook. It will probably drag out in terms of negotiations, but Andrea Berta could help us out. To be honest, the people I speak to at Aston Villa actually believe, and these are just friends, especially from the industry, if Arsenal were to bid 80 million, they think he's gone. So I personally think we're looking at around 100. I think they're going to look at what we paid for Rice, obviously a couple of other moves around, the fact that Rodgers is a key player, and their position is weakened because the player wants to go. He's given full preference to Arsenal. You know, they are treading a thin line with FFP and all of that, but he's English tax, premium, and again, he signed a new deal last season as well. Andrea Berta has asked to be kept informed about any other club making a move for Morgan. If Arsenal do make a move, there'll be another update. The player is fully on board. Chelsea in particular have been pleading with Morgan to showcase their plan for him. Don't beg, it's disgusting. But as of today, the response is Arsenal. Manchester United have also explored the situation of Morgan, with Carrick being a big fan. Obviously, Michael Carrick worked with him at Middlesbrough. Bradley Bacola and one other player are also of interest to Arsenal. Details on that in due time. Now, again, Arsenal and every club's interested in everyone, but Bradley Barcola, like Morgan Rogers, is one of the names that's consistently thrown around people. And what would you make of that? What have you made of Morgan Rogers and what's being said? Do you think he plays in the Odegaard role? Do you think he plays off the left? What do you make of the long-term futures for Kai Havertz and Odegaard, who can play in a couple of roles, but also would occupy that position? Let me know. Talk to me. Arsenal also in direct contact with multiple midfielders. And that's what I like about Berta. He likes to test the waters, gauge the willingness to want to sign for our club, personal terms, fees with multiple targets, and then he wants to go. I know it's a horrible example, but it reminds me of some of my friends. Like, they'll speak to a million women and then they'll decipher, okay, I want to go on a date with this one. I want to go on a date with that one. Me, I don't operate like that, but I hear it, people. So I do like the way Andrea Berta is operating. Arsenal are also in direct contact with multiple midfielders, as stated. Bawardi would be top of the list. I'd love Alex Scott, even though that's going to cost a bit of Wonga. Kone, I'm not as sold as much, but I think, we'd save a bit of money. Maybe we can invest in other areas. Larson, assuming that's Hugo Larson, that's a player we've consistently been linked with. And 2 others. As I mentioned yesterday, we are yet to make contact with any club officially. So that tells you we're gauging the willingness of the midfielders just said there to sign for our club. Can't tell you if they do want to sign for us or not. It hasn't been stated, but personal terms, are you sold on the project? Depending on what Mikel Arteta and Berta want to do, official communications between whatever clubs start to begin, people. As I mentioned yesterday, we're yet to make contact with any club officially, while Andrea Berta explores personal terms with all of them. One of these players is convinced he is Yeah, apologies for the technical difference, but yeah, you've got a bunch of clubs interested in Bawardi, so I don't know, people, but yeah, it's important to remember that Livramento also felt the same way, but it highlights how strong the conversations are. So again, unless you agree official fees, anything can happen. Arsenal also monitoring the Real Madrid midfielder situation. So that Camavinga, is that Tchouaméni? I don't know. Tonali was offered to us in January. Have never surpassed personal terms as of today. These clubs are used as a market scale. They want crazy money, as do Palace for Wharton. Personally, I hope it's Bawardi. And Hand of Arsenal said he's taking a short holiday, but you can imagine when the time's right, he'll be back, people. Internally, Newcastle have long considered Arsenal to be the favourites to sign Tonali, and I've been expecting a bid since January. There's a suspicion that leaking Tottenham's desire to pursue Tonali may well be designed to flush out Arsenal. I mean, Berta won't be drawn on them games, people. Again, I'm all for the stars of tomorrow. Arsenal are showing great interest in Andrea Bratichvi, 17 years of age, as well as Juventus, with both clubs holding talks with the players' reps. Obviously, Andrea Berta is Italian. Maurizio, the guy we brought in is Maurizio. I can't remember his name, but the guy that was said to have discovered Hamsik and all of these guys who's worked in Italy, it makes sense. Bring him. He plays in the Georgian league title holders, Iberia 1999, and he's on loan at Colchetti 1913. Bring him while it's low, and then obviously if he develops, we've got a world beater. If not, we sell and we make a profit. What would you make of that? And also bring in Monga. Apparently, Arsenal have decided to accelerate a deal for Manu Kone and have agreed personal terms with the player through his reps. Arsenal are now evaluating methods to present an offer to AS Roma, who value Kone at no less than 50 million euros, people. So we'll have to see exactly what's happening, but it's exciting.
You always just got to when